here and now. I was really fortunate. We had a half-hour meditation in our 9 o'clock service, and nobody's phone went off. It was awesome, because it was a deep, deep meditation with Brian Weiss. Okay, so today our speaker for the day is Emily Colay, and she's been with us before. And you may have seen her at our bandshell service last summer. Do we know when our bandshell service is this year? Oh, okay, August 11th, okay. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So remember that, August 11th, the bandshell service is a great thing, and then like everybody in the community gets to experience us. So Emily's enjoyed an incredibly diverse and successful career as a premier vocalist in the Twin Cities for over 25 years. And her resume spans from leading music festivals to theatrical productions, to studio recordings, etc. She's an educator, and she's taught both in public and private institutions, and she teaches music as an oral tradition. And she trains people in the classic technique, as well as others, and she conducts 4 choirs. She teaches early education music classes and offers private vocal instructions. She currently serves as the vocal music director at Heartbeat Performing Arts Center. She performs with an all-women's quartet, The Ages, and she's also the owner-director of a coming-of-age program for tween girls, 13 years old, or 13 moons for girls, which explores strategies and helps them implement the changes they desire to create the life they love. With that, Emily Colay.
Thank you so much, Tina. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I usually stand when I do these services, but I asked Gary if I could sit today, and he said yes. So I just felt like sitting and being a little more intimate with you all this morning. It's always a real pleasure and honor to be invited to come and speak at Lake Harriet. This is a community that I've been a part of on and off throughout the years since I want to say 2010, if not earlier. So it's been a long time. And I love this sanctuary. I always feel at home when I'm here. I always feel incredibly welcomed by the people that are our elders here, our strong community here. So just thank you all very much for your welcome. I also just wanted to take a moment to offer a brief opening prayer, because that's my way, to honor all of you as well. So you're welcome to join me and to just hold that space. Thank you, Great Spirit, for this beautiful day, this beautiful spring day, and the gentle spring rains that we've been receiving that are nourishing and nurturing all of the abundant life that is growing up around us. I honor all of the people that are here in attendance today in this beautiful sanctuary, to all those who may be watching on the live stream and those who may watch recordings later. Blessing them, thanking them for their presence, blessing the ancestors and the guardians and the guides that they carry with them, who are here present with us as we join in community, in unity, with love and openness. I ask to be guided in my words and my thoughts today, so that I may transmit any messages which are needed to be heard by those who are present and listening. And I offer my deep gratitude for this work and my path and all of the amazing people that continue to be placed upon it. Blessed be Ometeot. Whenever I come here, I often start by saying that I never really prepare. I always just kind of show up and improvise and let the Spirit guide me. And so that's why I offer that prayer, so that hopefully the words will come through in a beautiful way and reach some of you in a way that you most need, is my hope. When Gary asked me to lead the service today, I know that we always have a theme for the month, and the theme for this month is rebirth, which made perfect sense because, after all, it's springtime. And that is the time when we think of rebirth, we think of fertility. We see, the natural world around us is like coming to life again after a long winter for us who live up here. Even though this was a mild one, it's still many months of more darkness and gray and the trees without their leaves and all the little critters who, disappear for those months. And just yesterday, I was marveling at this little baby bunny that was in my yard and thinking about that theme of rebirth. I've been thinking about it. Spring is an amazing phenomenon to me. I dare say it's my favorite season, although I'm definitely like a hot weather, bring on the 90 degrees and humidity kind of gal. I think that spring is my favorite because it's the beginning of it all. We know that there's time. By the time we get to those like real hot days of summer, I always have that feeling like, oh God, it's gonna be gone soon, And this is just the beginning, so there's still all these months that are stretched out before us that we're gonna be able to enjoy. And the phenomenon of spring for me also is how fast it seems to happen. I remember at the beginning of April, my partner who lives in San Francisco was here visiting, and there were just little tiny buds on the trees at the time. And I was praying that they were gonna do the thing, right? Where they just all of a sudden pop open and explode so that he could witness, like, wow, like what a dramatic change that is, within just a few days' time. But it didn't quite happen. So then there were a few weeks that went in between my visit out to see him at the beginning of May, and I kept taking little photos like it's coming. They're starting to unfurl, they're starting to open. You can see a little bit of the chartreuse on the limbs of the trees, but even still, when I left to go out to California at the beginning of May, I took a photo of the outside the plane window of like the trees that were starting to open and those leaves that were starting to bloom. But it was when I came back and I looked out the window that I saw everything had exploded. It had happened in that week that I was gone. And it was such a drastic change. Like, how do we go from those bare, massive trees to all of a sudden their incredible crowns and the flowering trees everywhere and all of the sounds of the birds that I miss so much during the winter. And yes, seeing the little baby bunnies too. I mean, I'm lucky that I typically have a family that's born in my yard every year, so I really look forward to that. But it's amazing how fast that birthing, that rebirthing of the natural world happens. And I think about birth. For any of you who are mothers who have birthed children into the world, sometimes that process can be like that spring explosion where, 1 minute you're, hugely pregnant, and the next minute your waters, fall and you're being whisked away to wherever you're going to deliver your baby, and it can come really, really quick. That was not my experience. My son took 47 hours. And I think that's maybe a little typical for first-time moms. I've only ever given birth once, and I remember them telling me, if you have another one, now your body knows what to do. It'll go much faster. But I didn't have that experience again, so I just cherish my 47 hours of labor and birthing. And I think about death and how death can be the same way. My father, who passed away 15 years ago, was on a ski weekend with a cherished group of lifelong friends, actually on a trip that me and my sisters bought him for his 60th birthday several months before. They went on Valentine's Day weekend, and that morning of Valentine's Day, they went out for a morning ski. And when they came back, my dad kindled what would be his last fire and walked into the kitchen where his friends were gathered and the women were busy preparing brunch. And he stood in the doorway and he said, wow, it just doesn't get any better than this, does it? And then he said, I think I'm gonna go lay down a little bit before we eat. And he went to the couch in the living room that, as I understand, was in front of these floor-to-ceiling windows that had this beautiful winter scene. My dad's favorite season. We argued about that a lot. And he always would nap. He was a napper. I'm a napper. I inherited that from him. And I also sleep the same way he does, on the couch with our hands kind of like this. And his friends later told me that as they walked by and passed him to go to the restroom or to change their clothes, they would come back to the kitchen and they were remarking to one another, "Oh, Michael looks so peaceful. Doesn't he look so peaceful?" They didn't want to wake him up. He just looked so peaceful. And when they went to wake him up, he was gone. It happened that fast. And of course, other times in that process of dying, it takes a long time. I have a friend currently, a dear beloved friend of 29 years, whom I last saw in January when I was visiting in Mexico where he lives. Had a beautiful full moon pipe ceremony with him and played music. He's an old musician friend of mine. Trinidadian, my friend Brian. And we had the best time that night. It was such a great gathering. I was hosting a retreat for some women with a dear friend of mine, and to have a couple of my old-time friends, musician friends, come and be a part of that experience, playing music for the women, getting me up there to sing. It was such a beautiful night. And about a month later, I received the news that he had just been diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. That was about the beginning of March. And now we're coming to the end of May, and he's going pretty quickly, but he's still lingering on. And I think about this conversation my mom and I have often, because her husband actually also passed away from stage 4 cancer. And the timing was similar to my friend Brian. And we talk about, what's better in those situations? Is it better to go fast? Or is it better to have time, to have a little time to know that, you can say your goodbyes, you can make amends with people, And I think most of us, thinking about our own impending deaths, would probably opt that it go quickly, like my father's. I mean, you can't begrudge the guy. What a beautiful way to go, I couldn't be anything but thrilled for my father that he had this beautiful passing with the people that he loved his whole life. But I also said all the things to my dad that I wanted to say while he was here. I try to do that. I always try to say the things to the people in my life, my love for them, sometimes what I don't love about them. I always try to make amends when I can to heal harm that I've caused. I do my best. I'm not perfect, always working on it. But in terms of like somebody that you love passing away, is it better, that they go quickly, or that, you have that time? And I still feel like I would rather, people be able to pass quickly and painlessly whenever possible. But I also appreciate that sometimes we just need that little bit of extra time. I wish I had a little bit of extra time with my friend Brian. He's now nonverbal, and, I wasn't able to get down to Mexico to see him one last time. I sent him a little video message so that I could just beam my love for him, my gratitude that our paths crossed in this life. Birth and death, fast and slow. We never know how things are going to go. I have this program, 13 Moons, as Tina mentioned, and it's actually also for women. We need to update my my intro a little bit. I have many groups for women. I have one that will meet later today, actually. And in one of the programs that I created, at the very beginning of that program, we have a circle on the divine feminine. And really what it is teaching, looking at the history, or the herstory, as we call it in that group, of human cultural evolution, going back to our ancient relatives, the upper Paleolithic, Neolithic, peoples, and seeing how we progressed as a species over all these tens of thousands of years. And the reason why I feel like that's such an important teaching to offer is because I feel like maybe especially in this country, I don't know, because I haven't really spent a lot of time living in other countries, but it seems like here in the States, most of us don't even know our history going back the 400 some years that we've been here all together, let alone what happened before we came to these shores. So many of our relatives, ancestors came here for the first time to these lands. And we don't have that perspective of how time passes and how things change, usually very, very slowly over time. It usually takes a long time for there to be major shifts in social constructs, in consciousness, in traditions. It's a slow process. Every once in a while, it happens quickly if there's like a revolution or if there's like some change of power, or new leadership or something like that, that can be very drastic. But all in all, when you look at the grand scheme of things, it's a slow process. And so I always say to the people that I work with, I feel like at this time on the planet, we're like in an in-between place. We're kind of moving out of an old paradigm and into something new. I feel like we're birthing a new earth. We're birthing a new humanity. And I see us as being the foundation builders. We're here at this time excavating. We're digging in the dirt. We're looking at the shadows of our history, of what's been passed down to us through, our ancestrally, but also even just in our own family lineages. Many of us feel like we're here at this time on earth to heal the harm that has been caused from the constructs of the past, so that we're not passing it down to the future generations. We're trying to leave them something better than what we inherited. And a lot of us feel very impatient. We want to see that change now. We want to be able to see, that the world is going to be a better place for our children and for our grandchildren. But again, when you look at the long trajectory of human and cultural evolution, it's usually pretty slow. So I don't get the feeling that I'm going to see many of those changes in my lifetime. But I'm committed to that work anyway, as I know many of you are. That all we can do is the best we can do with the time that we're given. And trust, have that faith that in the end, those efforts will bear fruit. These are the cycles of the natural world, the cycles of time, the cycles of life. And I think that cycles, paying attention to the cycles, is really at the heart of everything that I do and the way that I experience my own life and my own reality. When I lived in Mexico in the late 90s, mid to late 90s for many years, I came across a book that this Mayan woman traded me. I can't remember what I traded to get this book. But it had this pink spine that called out to me, and the book was called Ariadne's Thread, a Workbook of Goddess Magic by Shekinah Mountain Water. And I just knew I had to have it. And when I got it, it kind of became the book that set me off on my spiritual path, which has evolved and changed a lot as I've cycled in my life. But it was really fundamental at that time. And in particular, there was a template in that book of a moon wheel. And this moon wheel, she described, you would use to basically chart your cycles. Now, as a woman, we think about like our menstrual cycles or, like those cycles of our physical bodies. But she also had a little key with all these little symbols of the many things that you could chart in your life, your energy levels, your emotional levels, how well you're eating or sleeping, if you're being social, if you're being more introverted, if you're spending time in nature, if you're feeling very intuitive, if you're feeling very intellectual. I mean, there's endless things that we could chart about our own cycles. And in 1997, I made my first moon wheel, and I've been doing it every moon since. I have a folder at home that's thick, and it has been one of my oldest rituals, one of my oldest traditions. And it's another teaching that I share often because without knowing what it would become in my life, when I made that change, When I started to keep time by the cycles of the moon, I think that it changed my consciousness. Because we live in a culture that's very linear. Everything's about, starting here and getting here. When we look at our calendars, it's squares and lines and boxes. But when you look at nature and the natural world, which we are all part of, everything is cyclical. Everything is round, or maybe like a spiral. We're not starting here to end here. That's not how the journey goes. We're constantly moving like this. Think of the healing path and how, when you have something in your life you're trying to heal, a trauma maybe that you're trying to heal, or, some behaviors that you want to change, or whatever it might be, relationships even, that sometimes, you go through a healing process and you have some sort of epiphany or awakening. Aha, now I understand. Now I feel like I've healed that, I've made peace with that thing in my life, and now I can move on. Only to come up against that exact same issue at another time in your life, in a different situation, in a different environment with different people oftentimes, but it's the same thing. And you're like, what? I thought I already did this work. Didn't I already put that thing to bed? Come on, I don't need to have a refresher course on this one. Except we do. Because every time it comes back around, we are different. We have changed. We're older, maybe a little wiser. We've had different experiences that are now allowing us to look at that same issue from a very different perspective. And we're able to see different angles, different sides of it. And we're able to approach deeper healing. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. That first time I took off that outer peeling and it was like, blah, there's the onion. But now I'm peeling back more layers and more layers. And I don't think that process ever ends in our life. I don't think that we ever reach the end of healing or of growing on our paths. It's about the process and not about the end result. And it's taken me a long time and a lot of cycles to be able to embrace that truth. So that now at this age, I won't say how old I am, but I'm getting up there. At this age, when these things roll back around, I don't feel quite as triggered about it anymore because I've already been through these cycles. I think that's like the wisdom of aging, of maturing, is that you've been through these cycles so many times now that you know you'll survive. You're not gonna die. You can face this hard thing. You can face this challenge head on. The only way out is through. And you just do the work because you know that's the only way. There's no sidestepping. So I think about rebirth and the cycles of life. And one of the blessings of that moon wheel ritual that I do every month is that I've learned I get a new beginning. I get to start again with every lunation and every new moon. I get to refocus my energies. I get to welcome a fresh approach if it's needed for whatever I'm navigating on my path at the time. And again, it's a little bit different than how the overculture sees something like this. I think about like New Year's and how at New Year's everybody makes resolutions. And this is what we're gonna do for the year. This is what I'm gonna change and what I'm gonna call in or what I'm gonna leave behind for the year ahead. And that lasts a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, but it's pretty short-lived most of the time Because a year, so much can happen in a year. How could we ever know? You know, when you think back to this time last year, I'm sure you can all think of some pretty remarkable changes that have happened in your life over this last year. Maybe there are some new relationships in your life that are so important and you couldn't imagine being without them. But just a year ago, they weren't there. Maybe there were relationships that a year ago you thought you could never live without this relationship, and it has fallen away. Maybe you've changed jobs, or maybe you've changed your place, where you live. Maybe your health has changed. Maybe your feeling of your purpose has changed or is changing. Lots can happen. So I love that working with the cycles of the moon, that every lunation, every new moon, I get to start again. Because sometimes my best laid plans, I come to find out, really weren't meant for me. They really weren't the best plan for me. And I need to switch gears and I need to alter a little bit. And I love having that freedom and that feeling that at any given time I can begin again. My son just came to my mind, my son who's almost 11. And he goes to a Montessori school where he's in a mixed age classroom. This year, he, for the first time, was in a new level in a class with 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And he really wanted to fit in with those 6th graders. Super thirsty for the 6th graders. And the 6th graders, as it turned out, could tell that he was very thirsty and really wanted to hang out with them. And they weren't necessarily such great friends to him. They weren't such great influences. And he got in some trouble this year. It was a rough year for him. And one of the things that I would say to him frequently is, despite what happened today, and despite, what you're going through and how you're feeling right now, tomorrow you get to start over. Tomorrow you can walk into that school and you can choose a different way. And that's hard. It's really hard, especially when people already have their expectations of us, good or bad, or when we feel like we're in a certain role and it's hard to break out of that role. It's hard to make changes, period. But it's true that every single day we have the opportunity to completely reinvent ourselves however we feel called to do it. And that's a privilege because there are millions of people all over this world who do not have that freedom. There are millions of people all over this world who live in places and conditions and cultures, societies, where they do not have the freedom to be sovereign and to make choices for themselves that they feel are the right, best choices to make. I think about that often as a woman. How, when my grandmother was my age, probably back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, there was a very different reality for women at that time. I think back even further than that, to my ancestral grandmothers, my way back grandmothers, who were not allowed to work, who were not allowed to create economy for themselves, who were the property of their fathers until they were the property of their husbands, who couldn't receive education, who were expected to become mothers, whether they wanted to or not, regardless of the dangers that were involved with childbirth. And I think to myself, wow, I would be their greatest dream, that their ancestral granddaughter, is this single woman who has her own careers, is making her own economy, has her own home, is a single mom, taking care of her child the way that she sees fit. Wow, I bet that they would be so amazed. And then I sit there and have a thought, I wonder if they would even have had the capacity to imagine such a reality. That there could ever come a day when their ancestral granddaughter would even be able to make those kinds of choices. Maybe that thought would never have even occurred to them. So it's a real privilege that we get to rebirth ourselves all the time, anytime that we feel it's needed. I look at my life in cycles, working with those cycles of the moon, as I said, but I see longer patterns as well, longer cycles. I've often spoken to a 3-year cycle that I find myself in a lot, where it feels like the first year, I'm really busy building. I'm bringing a vision, I'm clarifying a vision, I'm bringing it to life, I'm laying the groundwork. And in the second year of that cycle, it's very active. Now I'm putting in like all the energy, I'm making the thing, it's out there in the world. And then the third year is where there's like a decline. And maybe the vision, some aspects of it aren't working. And so they're falling away. Maybe the vision is trying to grow into something else in a little bit of a different direction. And it feels like a hard year, like kind of like a tearing down year. That brings me again to the new beginning, where I get to reinvent, I get to re-envision, I get to recreate, and I get to begin again. The last few years of my life, I've been in that cycle. It's been, that duality in life, right? Like some of the most beautiful, amazing, magical blessings that have come into my life, and some of the most painful experiences, interpersonal difficulties, relationships, things that I relied upon that have fallen away. And I remember when I was in the beginning of that kind of falling away year, a few years ago, and I recognize it because I'm old enough now that I've been through these cycles that I know what's going on. And I knew, okay, when this has happened in the past, it's ultimately always leading me to my greatest good. I have to trust the process. Whatever the lessons are presenting themselves right now is an opportunity for me to learn the things that I most need to learn to take me to that next level of my path. I saw it as an initiation, like a trial by fire. You've got to walk through this great challenge, and the things that you're going to gain from it, you'll survive, first of all. You will survive. And the things that you're going to gain for it are going to be relevant to where you're going next. And now, at this moment in time, I feel like I'm at the beginning of this new cycle, kind of in between like the first and second years, where definitely certain relationships have fallen away and other relationships have come forth. My work is changing. My family structure is changing. A lot of big transitions, big transformations. And to be honest with you, I don't know where it's going. And that used to be really hard for me. The uncertainty and the unknowing was so uncomfortable and painful. Because I'm an Aries. I'm impatient. I like to, get the move on. Let's just hurry things up. Let's make it happen. Like, let me learn my lessons. Let's just kind of, get going over here. So sitting in uncertainty, feeling like I'm dangling from the cosmic string, like, I don't know which way I'm going, is one of my least favorite experiences. But as I've gotten older and I've understood that that's part of it, okay, I can be more accepting. I'm in a state right now, I don't know how any of this is going to work out. I don't know what steps to take next because the pathway isn't completely clear yet. But I'm trusting, I have faith that everything is unfolding exactly as it needs to, exactly as it should. And my job is to keep tuning in to my own intuition, paying attention to those messages and signals that are coming through that are saying, okay, this is a yes, go here, take this step right here. Okay, I'm taking this step over here. Say no to that. I know it seems tempting, but that's not for you right now. Really? Because I kind of want to. No, say no to that. Okay. I rely on that guidance. I rely on my intuitive guidance, on my guides and my guardians who, I'm in communion with every day. That's part of my practice. And because I've been doing that for a really long time, those messages come pretty clearly to me. And so, having that faith piece, that ultimate trust that really the universe is conspiring for your greatest good and for your happiness, your ultimate happiness. But sometimes you have to learn the hard lessons the hard way. Sometimes you have to say no to things that you'd really like to say yes to. Sometimes you have to say yes to things that you may not want to say yes to. But when you pay attention to that guidance, in my experience, it is always leading you to the right place at the right time with the right people. So we're here in this season of spring where everything is coming alive around us. And my hope would be that we feel like things are coming alive inside of us as well. But these are also really difficult times that we're experiencing in this world. It's not easy to be a human right now. We're up against a lot of challenges, and we see a lot of things that are happening in the world that evoke a lot of grief, a lot of anger, a lot of fear. And I know just from speaking with people in my circles in the last month or so, that usual kind of spring fever, a lot of people are expressing that they're not feeling it. They're really struggling. A lot of us are really struggling. And then that's always true. A lot of us are always struggling, no matter the season. And in those moments, in those times, for me personally, I'm always trying to find the things that do light me up. Whatever those little moments of joy are, whoever those touchstone people are, those are the things that I want to connect with. Those are like the yeses. And if I keep just connecting with the yeses, first of all, it's keeping my spirits up and it's helping me get through. And again, I have that faith that everything is aligning. I try not to get into the rabbit hole, the downward spiral of the overworking mind, the worrying mind, trying not to give into the fear, allowing myself space to feel and to grieve. I did that just the other day for my friend Brian. I just needed to have a big cry out. And once I started grieving for him, wouldn't you know it, there were a whole bunch of other things that came up that also needed my grief. And I need to feel that grief, and I need to express that grief, because otherwise it just fills up inside and it starts to come out sideways. Now I'm saying like crazy weird things to people that like don't deserve to hear that. When we don't do our emotions well, it comes out like that. So it's important that we take the time to tune in and to honor our physical needs, our mental needs, our emotional needs. But birthing is a hard process, even if it's not 47 hours long. There's pain involved. There's uncertainty. There's both fear and excitement. There's the letting go of the life that we lived to transition into a completely new reality. And that is the same energy, those are the same qualities, the same essences every time we rebirth ourselves. So it takes a little bit of courage. It takes fortitude, determination. It takes faith. It takes excitement and that optimism and that hope for what can be to bring us into the new cycle, the new iteration of ourselves, who we are supposed to be now, which changes throughout the course of our lives. Who I am now is not how I saw myself when I was 20 years old living in Mexico. When I got that book about a workbook of goddess magic, that was my path then. That was how I identified then. It's very different now. And that's a beautiful thing, that we can continue to revamp, recreate, rebirth ourselves anew every day. I would love for us to take a moment and for everyone to just close your eyes if you would, or cast your eyes down if that's better. I'm just going to offer a couple moments of silence for us to think about where we're at on our paths right now in our lives, what is changing, what it is that we are trying to rebirth into, what our hopes are for this new cycle that we're coming into, what we're afraid might or might not happen in the process, what we might have to let go of. And sometimes we have to let go of things we desperately do not want to let go of. Whatever is coming up for you, I want you to take a moment and I want you to visualize yourself, your future self, whether that's tomorrow or a month from now or a year or 5 years from now. I want you to see yourself standing in that rebirthed reality, that new you, having successfully attained that which you are envisioning as the highest ideal for your life, for your relationship, for your work, for your home, for your family. And I want you to see your joy. I want you to feel your joy. I want you to feel the pride you have in yourself that you did it, that you faced those challenges, you learned those lessons, you walked through that fire, and it brought you there. You made it. Really feel that joy, that pride, that humbled gratitude. Feeling the awe of your personal strength. You just proved to yourself that you are stronger than you thought you were. That your capacity is greater than you ever imagined. And I want you to take those feelings with you from this service into the rest of your day, into the days to come, into the weeks and months to come. And when you're up against those challenges, when you're feeling overwhelmed, out of body, discouraged, tap back into that vision that you just held for yourself and the feeling that it gave you, the wonderful feeling that it gave you. That you are an amazing, amazing manifestation, of that creative energy that brought about this entire world and all of the universe. That's you. You are that energy, and that energy is in you. And whatever it is, you hope to rebirth. May it be so. Blessed be. Do you want to? No, do you want to? I was going to sing for the offering. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, we are an independent organization. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Emily. Emily's going to be back here, as you can tell. But now is the time to dig for more green, as we were talking about. A different green, because we are an independent organization, totally reliant on your donations. There's no other institution that helps support us. And as you can tell, this beautiful building needs some help. So we ask you to dig deep, and also you can become a regular donor by going on the website. And if you become a sustaining donor, that's what really sort of helps really maintain a regular income. So think about that too. Our ushers are going to hand out the baskets, and then we're going to hear more from Emily.
This lovely little song, it's just vocables, and I'll sing through it a few times. You're welcome to sing along if you'd like to. If you want to harmonize or anything, you're welcome to. Way, oh, way, hey, oh, way, oh, way, hey, oh, way, oh, way, hey, oh, way, oh, way, way, oh, way, hey, oh, way, oh, way. Way, oh, way, hey, oh, way, oh, way, way, oh, way, hey, oh, way, oh, way, hey, oh, way, oh, way, way, oh, way, hey, oh. Way, oh, 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 way, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh. Way, oh, way, hey, oh, way, oh, way, way, oh, way, hey, oh, way, oh, way, hey, oh, way, oh, way, way, oh, way, oh. One more time. Way, oh, 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 way, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh. Way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, way, oh, way, oh.
We have a tradition of blessing the green when it comes. And Emily's going to lead in the circle after this, but if you'll join me and in blessing this beautiful green. God's perfect love. God's perfect love. Flowing through me. Flowing through me. Blesses and multiplies. Blesses and multiplies. All that I give. All that I give. All that I receive. All that I receive. And all that I am. And all that I am. Oh. Okay, let's circle up. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. All right.
I always love it when we come together in the circle at the end of these services. It gives me hope for humanity every time. That we could all come together in these kinds of circles with all of our differences, all of our diversity, all of our different backgrounds, all of our different lineages, all of our different languages, and that we can stand hand in hand in a loving way, in a compassionate way. Each and every one of us are beautiful, beautiful manifestations of that creative spirit. And I honor each and every one of you, all of our brothers and sisters of humanity, all of our relatives in the natural world, the plants, the animals, the minerals, honoring this beautiful Mother Earth and the abundance of this season, honoring the waters, the sacred waters that flow in this world and that flow through our bodies, honoring the air that we breathe, the words that we share, the visions we receive, honoring that sacred fire that warms us, that ignites the will within us to go out and get it, whatever that may be. Aho. Thank you, everybody. Blessings on your Sunday.